Support for the Jersey Joe Corner podcast comes from Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past, and don't use the same trimmer on your face as you're using on your balls. That's just nasty. Manscaped also has the Cropped Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant, and moisturizer. You already put the deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code BIGHEADS, all caps, at manscaped.com. Always use the right tools for the job. Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use BIGHEADS, capital BIGHEADS. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jersey Joe Corner. It is brought to you by Big Heads Media. It is going to be a great hockey season coming right up. A lot of interesting things. Anchor.fm will help you start your podcast and get things rolling. It's going to be a lot smoother when you get the Anchor app, and it's so much easier to navigate. Even their online website at anchor.fm is very efficient, and you can do a lot of great things with it.
With the first pick overall, the New Jersey Devils are proud to select from the U.S. program Jack Hughes.
Let's go, baby!
Plays it across, Vatanen drives, score! Sammy Vatanen let it rip. It's a power play goal, and the Devils have opened it up.
Oh, my.
Nico walking in, shooting, score! Nico Hischier on the rush, ends it in overtime, and the Devils win it in Montreal.
Hello, everybody. Devils fans, hockey fans. This is your host, Jersey Joe, and
Jersey Jim here after a Thanksgiving weekend. We are back and better than ever.
It's as good as gravy, except for the last game that was not gravy. It was just a waste of turkey parts and everything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it was a lost weekend outside of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving wasn't ruined this year. I mean, it's always a good holiday, but when the Devils were playing and you didn't know what to expect coming into the game, but they salvaged Thanksgiving, but then they have a poor effort against the Rangers, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Well, I will put it this way. The Devils looked fantastic. I don't say that every single time when they have a win, but they certainly had their turkey legs, and they had their dark meat ready, and they looked fantastic. I mean, what else could you ask for on a win in Montreal?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a great game for them. I mean, the thing is, though, the history is against the Canadiens over the last 9 games. Devils are 7-0-2. So, I mean, not really a surprise the Devils won there. I mean, and now Montreal's on an 8-game losing streak. So that was, at the time, was 6 games. And the Devils were thankful part of 2 of those wins or winless streak for the Canadiens. So, but then you come home, you play a team that plays the night before, and you just completely stink up the joint.
Stinking up the joint. I mean, do you need a plumber for that one? I think the John pretty much leaks if you have a clown that can't fix the way this team is mangled all together with piping.
It really is. I mean, it was an embarrassment on Saturday afternoon. I mean, 1-0 for 2 periods. I mean, but then you give up 2 shorthanded goals and 1 on a 5-minute power play in the 3rd period. Like, I was just scratching my head. I'm like, what is going on here?
I mean, I was done putting my bedroom back together with my new bed and all that, and I just couldn't believe I felt so dumbfounded. Like, I was staring at my TV. I was like, how can it get any worse under this coach, under this penalty, on this power play, and the penalty kill all together in one day? It's a triple shot of vodka gone wrong, and those shots just are killing you.
Yeah, it really is.
It's killing the fan base right now. The mojo is dumbed down after the next loss or losses after a win.
Yeah, I mean, they win 2, then they lose 3, they win a game, then they lose. I mean, it's a big stretch here. You got Buffalo, Vegas, Blackhawks. I mean, it's a big stretch of games right there. And it's just, you don't know what you're going to expect game to game. I mean, Buffalo, you could play well. But last time they were there, it was 7-2 beatdown. Vegas tomorrow coming in. They're playing the Rangers tonight, but they could annihilate you on home ice. And in Chicago, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, but the Devils seem to always play well against Chicago for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a lot of fixing on the way. Speaking of fixing, we got to talk about those coaches that, we were just talking about off air. I know I had mentioned a dark horse kind of publicly, but he hasn't been really well spoken of since more than a year ago with certain players that were drafted. I kind of gave it away, but kind of cryptically spoken about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's something's got to be done because the voice is just not, the message isn't getting clearly through, and it's not getting through to the players anymore. You can see that, and it doesn't matter how many things you change, you try to change and move. If the message isn't getting there and the room is lost, then the players don't want to play. And you've seen that. You saw that in Toronto, and you can
on Babcock,
and now it feels like that. I wonder what this team would be like if they decided to make the coaching change and
ASAP.
Yeah, and remove John Hines as the head coach, because I bet you get some players that be wanting to play.
Well, you said to me from the source, 60% of the room has turned against them.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the other 40% hasn't really said anything.
They're not on. It was a kind of anonymous poll kind of thing, but it really wasn't. I mean, he was he's getting feelers. I mean, some answers he didn't get, but I believe. But from my person that I've talked with, that the room, 60% of the room just isn't buying what this guy's selling anymore.
I can see it from day one. I still can't comprehend why he got an extension. I just can't. I mean, it's hurt the team in the standings. It's hurt Taylor Hall's mindset. Hall as himself, he only has one power play goal out of 10 power play points on this power play. I know he leads with 10 on the team in the power play points, but it's not enough. I mean, there's only 3-4 other guys like Wayne Simmons who's going to be traded. I can guarantee 60% of that stock price is going up when he gets traded.
All right, so you wanna play a little game then later on, or
Let's
maybe
play a game.
Or are we gonna play? Or we could do it later, but we could play a game. There's a thing on TSN Overdrive called Jerry's Percentages, where they put out the percentage of what likely is or isn't going to happen, and it's done by Jerry, aka Gary Bettman, in a voice. It's really great. If you guys have not, if you haven't heard it, you need to hear Jerry's Percentages. It's great. So I'm not gonna rip off Jerry's Percentages, but if I had to put a percentage on Wayne Simmons being traded at the deadline, I would put it at 75% because I see it happen. This team isn't going anywhere. And all right, so we're past American Thanksgiving. This is what Ken Holland says is the point of where if you're in the playoffs, you're going to make the playoffs. Devils aren't even close to sniffing the playoffs. They're sniffing the bottom of the league again.
Top 5, top 10, easily.
Right. So got to start looking to see, all right, assets. Who's getting traded? Does a coaching change need to happen? Which is still astonishes me that it hasn't been done yet. But then again, they're looking for somebody. Maybe if they do make the move, who are they looking at on an interim basis, or are they going to look more long term? But I agree. You, myself, and Tyler have all been on the same page since the beginning. It's astonishing that this guy got a contract extension for doing absolutely nothing.
Doing nothing is not something. In this day and age, I mean, with the smartphones that are around a clubhouse and the voices that can be spoken both on and off the ice, did you see that post-game interview with Taylor Hall about how did that get out there? I didn't say anything or something along the lines of that. I mean, anyone could go on YouTube, look at the post-game raw video on the Devils YouTube, and I can guarantee you he didn't know anything about having a trade being made public.
Yeah, well, guess what? From the beginning of this season, and I reposted it, and I might pin it on my Twitter for our fellow fans. But there was an article I did entitled, "Did the Devils do enough to keep Taylor Hall?" And in there I talk about what he says and how he says it. He's like, oh, well, it's between my agent and Ray Shero. Well, no, it's not. Clearly your play on the ice is determining and showing everybody that you don't want to be here anymore.
I've seen it time in, time out, where he's just want to be more of a playmaker than even when he does hit, let's say, 8 posts and a crossbar. He's kind of like in between the other moves that he's doing. He's just rushing his way out in that make or break contract year. And to me, statistically and eye test wise, he doesn't look like $11 million. He looks more like $7 million. I am sorry, Taylor Hall. If I was your agent, you really aren't worth your grain of salt. I am sorry. I just can't. I mean, I love you the day that you came to New Jersey, but the way you're playing now, mind games and everything, the fan base is right about you. I'm sorry.
I mean, look, the writing was on the wall clearly in July. And if people thought he was staying, they were out of their minds. Because Ray Shero does all this stuff to bring in talent. And was it the right talent? I don't know. Was it? But there's talent there. And when you bring in talent, well, okay. Well, now ball's in your court. Oh, well, there's no contract extension. Well, I called out my general manager and at the end of the season, wait, oh, he did all this stuff. Oh, well, I don't think it's good enough, so I don't want to be here anyway. Well, okay, so why don't you just come out and say it? instead of letting your play say it for you.
It's crushing. Like, the first 3 games that I went to this year, like watching him like skate and all that, I mean, he just doesn't look like he doesn't want to be part of the near and short term. I know my buddy Jake Wakely up in Ontario says to me, basically the writing is on the wall, but like, we're not making playoffs and might as well trade him. And he goes, if I was his age, I still want to get traded to a team that's going to win. Okay, if you do get to that team that's going to go to the Stanley Cup, how are you going to play for them? Are you going to be a team player? Are you going to, sulk the way you did? Are you going to moan and groan all the time? That's not going to do you any good. You're going to fall short of a stamp, and we, the fans in New because we had enough of them already.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are places that he can go and that he can fit. And I know he wants to win. Everybody wants to win, but sometimes it doesn't happen. For a lot of great players, it doesn't happen. But sometimes you get on a team, but you learn to change, you learn to adapt. Brad Marchand said it. I saw a quote yesterday when I was watching the Canadiens-Bruins game. And he said, the quote in the locker room was, guys want to make their money. You're not going to do it here. We have nothing against you guys making money, but you're not going to do it. That's straight out of the Patriot locker room. The guys take team-friendly deals to win, and they put a winner together. The Devils have pieces in place to be successful, but you have to trim the fat and trim the garbage that doesn't want to play for you. And you looking back on the team's history, I harp on it all the time. Name me a superstar that was on this team when they won.
I mean, you could say Stéphane Richer as a trade, or maybe Joe Nieuwendyk or any of those players.
Yeah, but Joe Nieuwendyk was past
only
his
a
prime.
few.
But Nieuwendyk was past his prime when he was here. Stevens and Niedermeyer on the back end, I can argue that, and Brodeur was your goalie. But offensively, these guys played as a team. They brought into a system. Right now, guys don't know where they're playing. They don't understand what's going on. And it looks like it's just free-for-all out there.
And also, like, when you throw in John Hines, who blends things up constantly, podcast in, podcast out, game in, game out, it is like the same story over and over, unless you leave, like, the Coleman, Gusev, Zajac line together.
Which is, again, staying together for this game.
I would hope Boqvist plays the rest of the year. And let's get back to the subject of changing the coach. So my dark horse, you can agree or disagree. Jump in when you want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we talked about a certain prospect. We talked about Jack Hughes in the past. I watched Team USA's USA development team for the under-18s. You look at Zegras, you look at Boldy, you look at Jack Hughes, you look at Tyler Parsons, and Spencer Knight. I mean, Spencer Knight, being one last year. You look at Coach John Wroblewski. He has a more updated version to what, Team USA hockey players have that go trending upward towards the college game and in the NHL level. So John Hines was a factor from the old guard of the USA NTDP program and college hockey, but you're getting a different guy from a newer generation of hockey in USA in John Wroblewski. You have a guy who understands what Cole Caulfield thinks, keeping those lines together with Jack. You have Boldy, Zegras. If you trade Taylor Hall to Montreal and you name Wroblewski the coach, you have some potential Team USA players that would like to sign or possibly play in New Jersey because of him.
I could see it. I could. Unfortunately, I think this team needs more of an established coach. Can't go down another route of John Hine, which Wrobleski is similar to what Sheldon Keefe is doing. But Keefe, again, had the experience in the AHL. He's Dubas's right-hand guy for all purpose sake. I could see a guy like Dan Bilesma come in here because they like the Penguins thing so much. I mean, it's not a bad choice, but I think they will want to go with somebody who's been established and has won in the league and who's been in it and understands it. And maybe just can adapt and change a little bit more than what Hines is doing.
Now, my first pick would obviously be Patrick Elias. He's a man who understands the current game of the NHL. He knows what it's like to be in the locker room. He understands what fans know on and off the ice that they want to know from a coach. They understand what a legend is like. And Patrick can relate to players in multiple languages, which is great because he spoke with Gusev. And I know you kind of moaned and groaned about that, but hey, at least Gusev's looking a lot better on a two-way game than he did before.
Yeah, I mean, look, the players have raved about Patrick Elias when he's helped out with practice or been in a room or been around the team because he's been there. He's a winner. He knows what it takes. He understands what it takes. A guy like Gusev's understanding to play a two-way game. But the others the others aren't getting it. And I would love to have Elias there. I personally would like to have him as an assistant behind somebody, along with a Steven, because then Elias can work the offense, Stevens can work the defense, and you could mold ideas together, similar to what they had at Oates and Stevens.
And so, who is Elias your first pick?
I would as a head coach.
As a head coach,
I could see him being a head coach someday, but I don't know if this management staff sees him as a head coach, similar to what happened with Scott Stevens. I personally would love to see him because he's done great work. But like I said, I think he might be more relegated to an assistant.
So let's say tomorrow Hines and Kowalski and Nasruddin get canned. Who are your three guys that you're bringing in?
It's up to me. Up to me.
If it's up to you.
If it's up to me, three guys I'm bringing in. Oates, Elias, and Stevens. And if Stevens doesn't want to travel, okay, just do home games.
You know who I bring in who might be a good substitute if we do need a new power play coach? You have to bring in Joff Ward from Calgary. Speak with Calgary. See if he wants to come back to New Jersey. He did successful in the 2011-2012 season. They've been slacking ever since him and the other guy left. It's not been the same.
I mean, the problem is Calgary's probably going to want to test Ward out for the rest of the season to see if he can be a head coach in the National Hockey League. So he's the interim coach right now with the Flames after the whole Bill Peters situation. So he's probably going to be there till the end of the year. I mean, if you could figure out a way to bring him back, that's great because I think he was good. But again, it's a lot of repairs that has to be done because don't forget Ward was
he's with the Bruins.
But he's a Lou guy. He was with Lou brought him in. Like Oates was a Lou guy, Stevens was a Lou guy, and Stevens was on track to take the head coaching position, but you know, Shiro and the management staff felt that, you know, he didn't deserve it, which I think was wrong because they need to make an apology to him and get him back in the fold too, because he can fix this defense.
I feel they certainly need a guy of Stevens' DNA and his mindset. It pains me to think about every time there's a huge letdown, especially those two shorthanded goals. I mean, Sammy Vatanen should have stayed on his one side, shouldn't have committed to the opposite side, chasing Lemieux. I'm talking about Brendan Lemieux, the son of Claude. So, any of your listeners that are listening, yeah, there's a lot of kids of former NHLers that are in today's game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the pairings tonight too. Like, so we got Green and Severson together, Vatanen and Subban are playing together, and then Tennyson and Butcher. All right, whatever. I mean,
Lefty righty combos.
Yeah, I mean, Vatanen could be that guy that could play with Subban, but because he knows, hey, let this guy just do whatever, and I could just gotta stay home. But it's it's gonna be tough because Louis Domingue's playing. He didn't have a bad outing the other game he played in. But again, you don't know. Last time Devils Buffalo was rout 7-2. So
and Blackwood was in net.
Yeah, but Blackwood was coming off the back-to-back. He came in for Schneider.
Yeah, that's correct because I was at the game versus Winnipeg.
Yeah, so
we're hoping to see that he's rested, ready, despite a crazy Sunday massacre, if you want to call it that.
I mean, he didn't play bad. It's not like he played bad.
No, it's not him. It's how his support system. I'm talking about how his forwards in front of Gusev left him vulnerable against the wall, where Gusev fell and he lost control of the puck, and everyone mispinched, and that's when the odd man rush came.
Yeah, and then you give up the breakaway and the shorthanded goal on a 5-minute power play. I mean, that's just stuff that can't happen. Your power play went 0 for 8. Like, that's terrible.
Go back 9 power plays ago in Montreal, we were all celebrating.
Yeah, Devils scoring power plays. They kind of figured it out, but apparently they didn't figure it out. So
they basically puked out the eggnog just now.
Yeah, they did. They really, really did. And it's just so much up and down. It's crazy. Like, it's just so inconsistent, and only to have 9 wins entering December, that's not good.
I saw someone out on Twitter post, I forgot who it was, but he said that it was worse than John McClane levels.
Yeah, but they decided that they wanted to can McClane. They were like, all right, it's done. We got to just figure. They're like, all right, we're pulling the plug on him like right away. We're like, there was no salvaging the season. There was no, let's see, maybe he can do something. No, it was, all right, we're pulling the chute, and they got rid of him.
Right. And you go from there. I mean, you have so many things that have to be fitting parts. And if you just start with Hines, you could replace him with, I don't want to say Mark Dennehy, but it would likely be Nasreddine.
Yeah, I mean, so it'd be somebody on the bench. It would be unless they decide they're gonna pull Lou and they put Tommy Fitzgerald behind a bench.
They could do that for a little bit, but they're gonna have to get like a Guy Boucher.
Yeah,
he was one of the other guys I spoke about.
And I think this is the problem. They gotta either if they're gonna fire him, they're gonna go all the way and fire him, or if they fire him, they're gonna name an interim guy and then just go find somebody.
Yeah, you never know if you strike lightning like, I don't want to say the Blues, but like the Islanders did with Doug Weight.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Blues, everybody forgets. Like, everybody looks at the end result, but when they made their coaching change in November, they still were losing. It took them about a month or two before they got clicking again under Berube. So it's not like he came in and the magic was there.
Not all Gloria broke loose then.
Right, so it took them some time. But with the Devils, when you have expectations coming into a season and you're not living up to those expectations,
it really hurts the season ticket holders. It hurts the fans. It hurts the writers. Well, maybe indirectly, but
yeah, but you want to see the team do well. When you don't want to always be talking about the negative or fighting off the negative. You want to write some positive. But it's hard to put a positive on a spin on things when night in and night out you don't know what you're getting.
Like, for instance, one of the positives I will take is that Jesper Boqvist is clicking. Jack Hughes is starting to click. You have, Kyle Palmieri still scoring. All these other core guys are starting to come into their own. But at the same time, I mean, it's great to see Zach starting to click a little bit. You see Wood showing that he wants to be here. But the negative is that from the coaching to the fourth line and the cocktail blending of the other lines, it just doesn't allow that team to gel.
No, and look, Boqvist is coming along, which is really, really good. Good to see him doing that, doing his thing. It stinks that Hughes is out hurt, but you know what? He looks like he'll be on track for tomorrow night against Vegas. But the fact that Boqvist is getting confidence because he's playing more. And he was like one of those casualties at the beginning of the year. Oh, well, the team didn't do well. Well, all right, well, he's playing on fourth line. Well, but that's not why you brought him in. You didn't bring him in to be playing on third line, fourth line. He's a top six forward. That's why you brought him here. That's why he stays in the National Hockey League. If you didn't think he was ready, you should have sent him back. And speaking of guys that went back, and this is a little segue into somebody I was talking with today. There are major regrets sending Ty Smith back to junior.
I honestly felt they should have kept him.
I mean, let the kid play here. I mean, what he could have at least brought something different to that back end.
I honestly, sure he wasn't physically built enough, but on a team that you have so many either unproven players or players that, like Tennyson, who he's okay, but he's not great. I mean, he's a 6th, 7th defenseman at best. Ty Smith has a potential to possibly be a top 2 pairing defenseman who can move the puck, shoot the puck, and think about the game within the game.
Exactly. And obviously today it was announced that he was invited to World Junior Camp for Team Canada. No surprise.
Not surprised at all.
No surprise. But a lot of people, when you were doing projections at the beginning of the year, penciled this kid in for a defensive slot on this team because he was a left shot D that improved a weak side. And he can bring them something. Now, did he have a not his best camp? Probably not. Last year was better. But you're telling me he can't do something more than what this defense is doing now?
I'd rather take him than freaking Tennyson at this point. I mean, no offense to him. It's just, it's all about upside and potential and the skill set. I mean, when I watch Ty Smith play, whether it's junior or in, training camp, he's got the skating, he's got the senses, he has the IQ. He ticks off a lot of the boxes. He can certainly skate and he can control his own zone. And he just needs a little bit more adversity than just playing in the the Canadian Hockey League. No offense to the WHL, but he needs more of a challenge. You don't need to babysit him in the CHL. He needs to grow up in a tougher environment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's doing what he's doing at the WHL. It's no surprise that he's dominating again. Well, now let's see how that translates to the National Hockey League. And you need players to do that. And, like I said, if you were going to ride and die with kids this season, he should have just been here. Because it seems that most likely Boquist isn't going back or getting sent down. Hughes obviously wasn't going anywhere, but so you might as well just ride and die with the kids now and see what they got.
And to think about it, I mean, let's get back onto the Taylor Hall trade ideas. So I'm on Cap Friendly right now, and I was listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast. They had Rachel Dory, who used to work for the Devils in the analytics department. So she said that on the hockey analytics side, that she sees William Nylander as a possible fit for the New Jersey Devils.
I mean, this is not an unknown secret, and no offense to Rachel Dorian, but and not to shoot down on anybody, but I'm going to tell you right now that William Nylander is the odd man out in Toronto whenever they decide to make their move or whatever they're going to do, because the day he signed that contract, the day he had that holdout, I knew he wasn't long for the Maple Leafs. So, preface to what I just wanted to let everybody know in, because I've been saying it since day one.
So, now tell me, do you think if they want to get rid of William Nylander, give the Devils a second rounder and a first and a conditional if Taylor Hall decides to resign with a team like Toronto, and they take off that $366,000 contract for Taylor Hall's $6?
The thing is do the Maple Leafs make sense? Yes, they do, because they have pieces to do it. However, are they going to want to sign a guy to another big long-term contract, high-money contract? They already have Tavares, Matthews, and Marner locked up for big money deals. They really need to fix that back end. So as much as Nylander would make sense and it would be a good fit, because I thought the Devils should have traded for him last year when he was in his holdout, I don't know if Toronto's going to want to go down that path, because they have guys that they need to re-sign on that back end.
What about Tyson Barrie? I understand there's a conundrum there. And
Well,
he's had some issues with Toronto.
The thing is, now that Keefe's there, you're seeing the old Tyson Barrie again. Mike Babcock asked him to play a different way than what he was accustomed to, but now he's paired with Morgan Riley, and he's playing like he used to when he was in Colorado. Now, Barrie would be a great fit for New Jersey, especially on that back end, because they're going to need a defenseman back in this deal. But
he's going to be UFA.
Exactly. So are you trading UFA for UFA? I mean, it's not ideal unless you think Barrie can want to stay, which if I'm him, I'm probably looking to get money someplace.
Or you're looking both for conditionals on each side of the table.
Right. So,
but the problem is going to be the Maple Leafs again are going to have to deal with Darren Ferris.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I think Dubas has learned that, that he can't just go in there and just give anybody money that he wants. So, I was just staying on the topic of this. How about, Matt Larkin, Hockey News, put out an article about the 5 destinations where Taylor Hall could go. The first one he lists is the Carolina Hurricanes. Interesting.
Unless they want to part ways with their defenseman.
Well, that's what he says. He said Jake Bean,
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Bach, and a first rounder for Hall.
The Devils had a chance to get Dominic Bach in one of those drafts. Jake Bean was also in one of those drafts where the Devils could have picked him.
Right. So maybe there'd be a little bit more. I agree with what Jager's saying, and I'm hearing the same thing. If Hall's going, you're getting a first and you're getting a conditional pick that could become a first. That's the way it's going. Next candidate, which everybody seems to have everybody and agrees that this could be the spot, is Colorado Avalanche.
That's who I have.
So, obviously, they have a lot of prospects. Talk about Connor Timmins, maybe Samuel Girard.
I like Girard.
Are you able to grab a guy? Are you able to grab a forward out of them, too? Thing is, with Colorado, you have Kadri and his contract. Do I really want to be bringing that back? If Hall's gonna stay, Hall's staying in Colorado. Am I really and LeBron made a great point on The Athletic this morning. Taylor Hall's a great fit for New Jersey 2 years from now, but not right now. He's not. And if a team is rebuilding, do they want to be adding a guy like Kadri, or do they want to be adding a more skilled guy? Not to say Kadri isn't skilled, but I think he just fits what Colorado's looking to do right now.
I'm currently thinking like Shane Bowers, Bowen Byram, Samuel Girard, Martin Kaut as ideal picks.
Well, here's the thing.
But not every one of them is going to be in that package.
The thing is, it would be ideal to get Bowen Byram, but I don't think they're going to be able to swing it. Because if they keep Byram and Makar, so it's now Girard is the odd man out.
You have Girard. I have Girard. I have Nikita Zadorov.
You could bring him back.
Martin Kaut.
I could see that.
Girard and Shane Bowers.
So, I mean, that's not a bad return.
Throw in the 2021st. And then put in the 2021 second rounder as a conditional first.
Okay.
Because if Colorado re-signs Hall or they do well in the playoffs, that could possibly become a 2021 Devils first rounder in 2021.
So here's the thing. It's not like we could talk about it, and we talk about it with ease. But how easily can it get done? If you look at Mark Stone, who was a pending UFA last year, and it goes back to this, Ottawa was only able to get one prospect out of Vegas for Mark Stone. And then Stone signed his extension with Vegas. I understand they want prospects, but you're also going to need an NHL ready now player. And that's where the dilemma comes in.
It's going to be a big dilemma.
Right. So, another team he names is the Dallas Stars.
Not bad.
Not bad. He doesn't mention Julius Honka in here.
I think he would be an ideal, pick. But what are you going to do when, he does come over? How are you going to make room?
Right. What about now? Obviously, the Oilers have been linked a lot now because, McDavid, Draisaitl, they could use him 5-on-5 power play. I mean, the thing is with the Oilers, who are they going to kill? Yamamoto, Benson, they get Philip Frobert, Evan Bouchard. There's players there. And then obviously the last team is the Montreal Canadiens, which is also an ideal fit because
We
Cole
talked about.
Caulfield, Suzuki, they have enough there to make him interested. Now, as far as rentals go, I could see Boston doing something, maybe Pittsburgh, St. Louis, maybe even Calgary.
So I want to reiterate on Boston a little bit because I know for one of our listeners, Ron McDonough is a Bruins fan. You cover Boston hockey.
Yep.
I heard Torrey Krug is going to be a UFA or being moved by the end of the year. Do you think Ray Shero could possibly sign him?
I mean, it all depends. I mean, Krug fits the Bruins so well, but it all depends on what Sweeney wants to do. And look, he just signed Coyle and Wagner to team-friendly contracts. Very, very team-friendly contracts. So they have the cap space next year to do something with Krug. But again, McAvoy is going to be coming up after his bridge. This is what they do. They build team-friendly deals. And
so I did a little bit of a playing around with the Taylor Hall to Colorado. Basically, I didn't want to be over 23 or whatever, 24 players for Colorado, but I did kind of have to adjust it. So I have Shane Bowers, Samuel Girard, Nikita Zadorov, a 2020 first round from Colorado, and a 2021 second rounder from Colorado for Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
Which I think could be the trade. But let's get back to Montreal, though. They have a lot of pieces, in the prospect pool that could be worthwhile. But who do you see from the lens from Boston?
I mean, look, Boston's got guys that they could swap. Are they willing to part to bring in a guy, a rental, because they're not sure that he's going to stay? That's the key. I mean, look, you got Trent Frederick, you got Anders Bork, you got Stunica, you got you have who else is there? Zach Senyshyn. I mean, they have players, but are they gonna want to part with their players in the system? That's the question. And if they do trade for him, are they able to sneak out a defenseman out of it?
So I'm looking under cap friendly right now. So there's 0 projected cap space for the Boston Bruins.
Right, because they have to move somebody on their team.
They have their 2020 first rounder, their second rounder, their third. They don't have a fourth. They have a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh. Devils are going to ask for at least 2 firsts and a prospect and possibly a roster player. So you talked about Charlie Coyle's contract is $3.2 million going to $5.2 million going next year. Danton Heinen is a $2.8 million player for the next 2 seasons. Sean Corrali is a $1.275 million player. Chris Wagner, $1.25 right now. Joachim Nordstrom, $1 million man. Bjork is just under $1 million. DeBrusque is under $900,000. Sorry.
He's due for an upgrade.
So yeah, you have a couple of pieces that are going to be due for paydays.
Right, exactly. So I mean, it's not like they have the room to do it. The ideal candidates are Montreal, Colorado. Maybe you could swing maybe St. Louis in there. It just those destinations make the most sense.
Now, going forward, I know Matt Grzelcyk, I know they call Grizzlick.
Yeah, Matt Grzelcyk, yeah.
but he's a left-handed defenseman. He's only $1.4 million. Shearer likes RFAs. Do you see him or any other Bruins defender that might not be in the team's long term or whatever? Maybe Connor Clifton.
Well, I mean, like, yeah. So Cliffy Hockey just played in his 60th NHL regular season game, which means now if he were to get sent to the AHL, he has to clear waivers to do it. He might not have to have a Jersey boy come home, but he's more of a bottom pairing defenseman. But
better than Tennyson.
But he's an upgrade to what the Devils have. Grzelcyk is a nice piece. It all factors in on what Krug does and how they make it work, and then how the cap next year projects. Because if the cap goes up, they're able to keep everybody. If it isn't, then they have to figure out who's moving. Do they move Krug out? Do they value Grzelcyk over Krug? Or do they value Krug more over Grzelcyk?
And so I'm looking at the non-roster forwards and non-roster defense. So I'm going to name some of the forwards first. You tell me who you think the Devils should be looking into. You mentioned Frederick. There's Pavel Shen. There's Oscar Steen, Cameron Hughes, Jakub Lakow, Jack Stonichka, Jano Kopanen, Ryan Fitzgerald, Brendan Gauntz, Peter Chelarik. You have Paul Carey. What do you think of any of those non-roster forwards?
I mean, like I said, I think it's just guys I've seen play. I like Frederick. I've been a fan of his. I like what he's doing, brings to the table. Again, I talked to him this year, so I hope he does well. When Senishin was called up, he produced. Anders Bork's producing for them. So, I mean, there is depth in that organization. And real quick to stay on the Bruins, it was funny because I was talking with a buddy of mine yesterday, and we were talking about, what makes the Bruins so good. And sorry to get into a tangent, and I know it's the Devils podcast, but
we're talking about trade partners.
But it's interesting to see that how the Bruins have that same system throughout their farm system. And my buddy's like, well, don't all the teams do that? Well, I said, well, you would think, right? He's like, yeah, but the difference, you have to realize the difference with the Bruins is when they have developmental camp, their developmental staff is running developmental camp. The head coach is there, but it's Jay Leach, it's Jay Pendoff, it's Jamie Langenbrunner.
The former Devils.
The former guys, those guys are there, and they're telling you, this is what you have to expect when you come to NHL, and they all know where to go, how to slot in, and how to play. It was really interesting.
And so one of the other defensemen that I have my eye on, a couple of them, Urho Vakanainen.
He's a good player.
Jakob Zboril. I think if Taylor Hall is in a package or part of like a Boston package, Vakanainen or Zboril might be included.
I could see it.
They're both RFAs. Vakanainen is an RFA until 2022 of July 1st.
So, I mean, there's pieces there. Again, it all depends on cap and on who they value, how they value, who they can pay.
And I'm guessing if with a new TV contract coming up not too far from now, I'm guessing the cap can go up to $83 million right now.
It could. I mean, it all depends on how the TV contract is done. And a side note, it's probably going to be similar to what the NFL does.
NFL, you meaning big money, like extra big?
Well, big money, but also with the NFL, you notice it's not just one network.
It's multiple networks.
It's multiple networks. Now,
because they have ABC and several other.
well, it's ESPN,
components.
it's Fox, it's CBS, it's NBC. Fox and CBS get the regional games. NBC, ESPN have their national games. But each of them, but Fox, NBC, and CBS rotate the Super Bowl. But they always have playoffs on. What I'm saying is the NBC will still be like the head thing
Like
for the National Hockey League. But don't be surprised if ESPN picks up games for television, not just for their not just what they do, what they simulcast broadcast on ESPN Plus.
Because I noticed that they started doing those ESPN Plus things because nowadays, I hate to sound more like a business person on this part. This is like when Bob Iger of Disney gets that Disney Plus. I know a lot of young families, like my sister out in California, that has a Disney Plus, and my brother-in-law loves ESPN for football and all that. I would like to see more of the hockey content come back to ESPN, but in a more high-definition, big money contract that could give the NHL its bigger revenue.
Yeah, it would be great to see it back on ESPN so they could be talking about it more. I mean, look, In the Crease on ESPN Plus is great. It's better than NHL Tonight. Hate to say it. Linda Cohen and Barry Melrose do a great job. John Butchergross too.
I don't mind Melrose, but I do like Butchergross, though. I mean, I always remember Pierre LeBrun used to be with ESPN.
Yeah, so those guys, it's definitely leaning that way. I don't know if the NHL wants to lock itself into one broadcast partner anymore because the times are changing.
Yes, times are not only changing, but people are reading and watching more different outlets. I know they expanded their coverage to Hulu and all the other outlets, and especially if they can get something like documentaries on Netflix, I think it would expand more horizons. There was hockey content from Canada on my Netflix that I used to watch, the Don Cherry Story.
Yeah.
So, and it was about the Wrath of Grapes. And, I think if you get more of those kinds of hockey content onto those major hubs, not just, during the hockey season, but the off season, people like you and I and maybe younger families who are craving hockey stuff will want to have it more often.
Yeah, and I would like to see some things different. Like, not just, like, because then, all right, so you have NBC that gives you Sunday games, it gives you the Wednesday night games, occasional games during the week. But if you had ESPN, you could roll the entire week. You could have a nationally televised game besides your local broadcast.
I'm actually going to look up how much that NFL TV deal was, because I want to get an idea figures-wise, because let's just say it was $350 million more than what the NHL is getting. You add that to the hockey-related revenue altogether, that's like a total shares outstanding of what. Okay, so it says as of February 2019 per Wikipedia, I think, okay, just be on the safe side, they said each team receives $255 million annually from the league's television contracts, up 150% from $99.9 million in 2010.
Yeah, I mean, their new contract is huge.
Okay, let's say it's $255 million. Let's split that by 31 teams currently. That would be a huge cap.
Okay, so the NFL's national TV deal with ESPN is worth $2 billion from 2014 to 2021. The NFL as a whole generated more than $12 billion in U.S. revenue in 2015. It was a lucrative like $27 billion deal. It's ridiculous. It was some stupid number that, granted, the NHL could not. I mean, they could get a big number too. I mean, they got a huge number with their last NBC deal and their Sportsnet deal, but I think they're going to want to go back to what they had before. It just makes the most sense.
Because I was just doing 255 million divided by 31. You're looking at $8,225,806 easily per team added on to, what was it, 81.5 million. I mean, that's a huge increase.
Yeah, it's a very big increase, very big. So
that would put you at mathematically $89,725,806.45 American.
It's a good day.
That's a great day because that means Taylor Hall will easily get his money regardless. Ray Shero will have more money to play with to give other outstanding contracts. You can play with the numbers 24/7. And look at the $76.722,634 million the Devils have. That's like more than $13 million in cash.
Yeah. I mean, it would be awesome to see and have that. But again, that's far down the road. That's something the NHL, PA, all that. They're looking into that stuff. But so we shift from there. We get back to the ice, and get into tonight. Got Buffalo, got Vegas tomorrow, back to back. Obviously, Blackwood's gonna start tomorrow. Makes sense. Chicago on Friday. My buddy, big time Blackhawks fan from Vermont, and then they play in Nashville. So it's a busy week. So they go on the road on Saturday for 4 games. But right now we're focused on Buffalo, Chicago, and Vegas. Not in that order. It's Buffalo, Vegas, Chicago. So 2 of those games are at home.
But right now we're focusing on the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres, Olofsson was one of those guys who's absolutely having an outstanding season so far.
And most of his goals on a power play.
That's just crazy.
It's ridiculous. I've never seen a guy like that rip. I think he has a minimum amount of points on 5-on-5, but his power play numbers are ridiculous.
So reiterating on power play percentage. Okay, I'm gonna look at. I know this is gonna probably scare some people, but Sabres are actually 17.8%. That's 19th out of 31 NHL teams. And their penalty kill is 74.7%. So if anyone's at home right now listening to this, I mean, just looking at the 74.7, that's 29th, which kind of gives the Devils a little bit of a favorability because the Devils are 77.1 in the penalty kill, but still the Devils have the edge on that.
Yeah, and the Devils penalty kill and power play need to be totally upgraded. But anyway, so the Devils are gonna keep Nikita Gusev, Coleman, and Zajac together. Seems like the only line that's producing. I mean, look, Coleman has 6 points in 4 games. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists over that time. But the guy you got to watch out for is Sabres captain, Jack Eichel.
Yeah, four goals in a game?
He's got 16 points in a 9-game point streak, 8 goals, 8 assists. He's just a beast. I mean, Marcus Johansson, former Devil, got to watch out for him.
He burned the Devils in that second game, in that first meeting of the season, where Gusev just didn't know how to defend.
Yeah. Then you got obviously Skinner. You got to watch out for Sam Reinhart. Casey Middlestad, VC. You know, all these guys. Obviously, your boy on the back end. You like Jake McCabe.
I like him. Miller.
Ristolainen, and then obviously it's going to be. It looks like Olmark's going to start for the Sabres tonight. And and here's a little quick stat note of the night. Olofsson has a point in 10 of his past 12 games, and Gusev has 3 points or 3 assists in his past 2 games.
Those are your 2 forwards to watch for, and I do think Buffalo is a good dark horse for Taylor Hall. I mean, you have some players defensively that could belong in a Devils uniform.
I mean, you've talked about McCabe, you talked about Colin Miller, 2 guys I could see coming here. All right, over under 1 point for Nico Hischier tonight since he's got 4 assists in his past 5 games.
He's starting to like connect with his line mates. I know Jack is not playing, you know, that's a big blow for them tonight again, because he would easily close down an Eichel or a middle stat. Because talking about segueing back to the Team USA hockey, when Middlestat was in his draft year, he certainly was one of the best forwards since like Phil Kessel.
But it wasn't. But it was Hughes and Caulfield breaking all them records.
Yeah, they did, and it was actually against the Green Bay Gamblers of last season. And I also remember Capo Caco at the same time had another historic night on that same night or that same week, because I was on Twitter during that time just seeing what was going on, because I knew the wheels for the double season were falling off. Not to make a Jerome Bettis reference.
You know, the wheels on a big bus.
I know, but what's happened to Dustin Buffalo? I mean, if they could figure out that conundrum with that contract, maybe Winnipeg is another dark horse for Taylor Hall.
I mean, Winnipeg, look, they're figuring things out right now too. It stinks because Nathan Beaulieu, the guy who helped that backhand settle down, is out again. So that's a big blow for them. But you never know. You don't know. It's interesting because you listen to all this stuff, right, about Hall, and you think, all right, when's the most sense to trade him? Is it at the deadline? Well, if a team really wants him, they're gonna try to get to him now, because you want to have as much time to have him like acclimate to your system.
I think you're absolutely right. Here's the thing, teams are probably talking with their upper brasses right now, talking with their scouts, saying, who do we want to do surgery with? Do we want to pull this guy out? Do we want that person? You know, is this person going to fit well there? You know, will this hurt our future, or are we mortgaging too much just to get Taylor Hall? Or do we just want to win this darn Stanley Cup?
Right. I mean, everybody wants to win the Stanley Cup. That makes the most sense. But how you get there? I mean, look, if St. Louis listened to all their fans last year, they wouldn't have won the Stanley Cup. Pietrangelo would be gone. Tarasenko would have been gone. But they righted the ship. The problem is the Eastern Conference teams are separating themselves from the pack. And you don't have the luxury like you did last year, when I keep harping on this. If teams in the West last year knew how to close games out, St. Louis doesn't even make the playoffs.
And he said that was one about 100 years.
Right. So there's a reason why it doesn't happen every year.
Because teams need to close down on certain teams right then and there, game in, game out, be consistent. But there wasn't any other consistency that allowed the St. Louis Blues to march in, and then they can blast glory the whole freaking time. Since they turned things around in Philadelphia,
they've figured it out, right? But they were a playoff team on paper before the beginning of the year when they added Ryan O'Reilly. They were a playoff team. They just didn't get off to a great start. Well, the New Jersey Devils
are not off to a great start.
On paper, thank you. On paper, this year, they had the potential to contend for a playoff spot. Unfortunately, things are not going the way everybody wants them to. And it goes back to the first game. Your first game of the year, I hate to keep harping on this, sets the tone of the season.
It was a WTF moment.
Right. You're up 4-0. You can't win. But whatever.
And I honestly feel like if there was some sort of, okay, let me talk about not just the fans, but also the season ticket holders. And for those of you who are starting to receive any messages via email, via phone call from the Devils, you have the right to speak your mind because I've said this to Abby Mastracco. Fans speak their minds, especially season ticket holders. Season ticket holders are shareholders. You give the team money. If you speak up like they did versus the Rangers in that tough loss, saying fire Hines, if you make your voices heard constantly, not just at the game, but also when they message you, tell them how you honestly feel. Say, the dysfunctionality of what's going on is making you not want to sign up. And if you don't speak up, there's not going to be any action done ASAP. You want to be a true fan, speak up.
Yeah, exactly. Just a real quick, just some things on Twitter I'm seeing. In regards to this whole thing, people getting on Shiro, people getting on everything. The one constant throughout this whole mess has been John Hines. One of the writers for the hockey writers, Alex Shavancy. It's not 100% Shiro's fault. This is where it's gotten with Hall, but his biggest mistake has been hanging on to Hines this long. Accurate.
I have a lot of respect for that.
100% accurate. He says his next point in his thread is, given the move Shiro made this offseason, Hines' leash should have been shorter than what it's gotten. There was no excuse to still 0-4-2, and look what they did, and look the way they did in the process.
I just honestly feel like where is the sanity in this? I mean, we're here to bring sanity once again, but there needs to be change. A lot of voices are being said via Twitter, via Facebook. You look at even other Devils fan-run podcasts. There is a lot of chatter amongst, the faithful. I'm calling them the faithful because they want to see change. They want to see success. They wanted to see us back to the glory days. And I know my one friend, we were at the Devils Lightning game, and he wanted to ask Daniel when we're going to get back to the glory days. He goes, and I just remember Daniel having that tough, hard breath. I mean, I knew he was feeling the pain, just talking about it. It's these hard growing pains we shouldn't have to go through because we could easily change coaching staff that could change mindset.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know when the glory days are going to come back. People got spoiled. We did. Because, my parents went through the lean years. I'm talking lean years when they first came into the league.
80s.
80s, you got the playoff run in 88. But then things started to turn. Somebody brought this up to me. Despite the 3 cups the Devils won, they lost in the first round a lot with a good team. Second round 1 year, first round. So they missed the playoffs. They lose second round Rangers. First round in Pittsburgh, first round in Ottawa. Those 2 years, 98, 99, they were dominating. 2000, they were bringing this point. This was a point that was being made up on Sirius XM when they talk about the Islanders and what Lou's been doing. If Lou saw there was a problem and there wasn't, and it didn't matter when it was, you were gone. Robbie Ftork was fired with 7 games left. The Devils were above 500. They were way above 500. But they weren't performing. You're fired. Larry Robinson comes in and wins a Stanley Cup.
It's crazy to see, like, there's no, like, instant, how do I put this? Responsibility. There needs to be an onus on the coaching staff ASAP. If another Ranger-like game happens, there's no reason to hold on to him. I mean, this is his 4.5 season right now. I mean, a coach is a person who helps you with the strategy before, during, and after the game. And if you can't get your players put in position to work the penalty kill, work 5-on-5, etc., different facets of the game, then I don't know what are you doing there in the first place, other than collecting a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this before. I think Hines was able to do less with more. He doesn't know how to do more with. He doesn't know how to do more. He know how to do more with more. Because there's talent there, and I don't know if he understands how to manipulate it. I think it's the same issue that Babcock had. He wanted a team built a certain way, but Dubas didn't do it. Though, not to say that Shiro and Hines aren't on the same page, but Shiro made these adjustments to make this team better, and they're supposed to play fast. And I keep texting you this. You need to be playing fast attacking hockey. Well, that needs to work. That needs to be done every game. We don't change opponent to opponent. You have to play constant. Time and space. Limit your opponent's time and space. That's why the Devils were so good in 2012 when they went to the Stanley Cup Final.
Because when you had defenders like Salvador back then, you had Mark Fraser, not Fraser. I mean Mark Fane. Sorry, I didn't mean Fraser. But Fane, at least he was able to play the puck, separate, the other opponents from getting too close. You had, if I recall correctly, Volchenkov.
Yes.
Yeah, Volchenkov was a big physical body. He could definitely block shots. And you also had Ryan Carter, who was a good two-way presence, scrappy little guy who could get to the high danger zone. And you know what? We actually see a lot of high danger hockey that the Devils forwards have. It's just that the problem is when you're passing it along the boards and you get it to the defenseman passes it back and forth, and you're not shooting it right away to the mid-low danger zone. How in the Sam Hill is this team going to score high danger hockey?
They're not. You're not going to score in a high danger area. And it's just hard to see, and something needs to change. And obviously if the coach doesn't want to change the way he's doing things, then maybe it's time to change the coach.
And I think it's time to bring up Nathan Bastian. Did you see the way he had 3 block shots in a row?
I mean, look, he blocked 3 great shots. Look, when they brought up Cini, I said, Cini, all right, good. He's got a lot of goals. Big deal. But if he's not put in the right situation, he's not going to succeed. And it's the same thing. Bastian can succeed because his style of play is more of a third, fourth line player. The same with McLeod. Those two guys can fit a third or fourth line.
And those two Mississauga boys can definitely be a good third, fourth line on the team. Also, like, adding the size and physicality of a Brian Boyle, Bastian brings that younger style of that type of forward. He can be a power forward, and he can be that in-your-face guy.
Yeah.
And that's what is missing, is that heart and soul type player. And if I were coaching the Devils right now, I would absolutely be happy to have Nathan Bastian on my bottom third, fourth line. No doubt about it.
No doubts. No, I have no doubts. I could see that.
I would still leave the Gusev, Coleman, Zajac line the way it is. If Hughes comes back, put him on the same line. And if Hall is traded, maybe you're able to sneak in one or two guys to the next line below. And maybe bench a guy.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have Hughes and Heischer on the same line.
No, I think it's time. That's where I think it's time to make a change up there. But it's crazy. It really is crazy to see what's going on. Penguins got a lot of injuries. They just signed Stefan Nason to a two-way deal today because Patrick Hornquist got injured again.
Oh, so he's with Pittsburgh now.
Yeah. And then just to see, just real quick before we get out of here, because a lot of people know I have a personal connection with Keith Kincaid. So he got put on waivers today with Montreal, and it's fine. I mean, look, Canadians want him to go play down in the AHL, build up his confidence. That's fine. But when his record is 1-4, he's got points in every game he's played in except one. He wasn't the problem in Montreal.
The defense.
They have a lot of problems that were exposed over an 8-game losing streak. They want him to play more. Great. There were plenty of times to play him against opponents. He kept him in every game. I thought he was a fantastic signing for Montreal this year.
I think he got the short end of the stick, honestly. I mean, I know last year I kind of grew old of Keith in net because Blackwood stole the show.
Yeah.
But now that Corey's in bingo, you have to bring up someone else. I mean, I'm thankful for Louis Domingue, but
he's not the answer.
He's not the answer either. But it's probably Keith Kincaid who's going to come back and be the backup.
Look, Keith Kincaid, he could be claimed before tomorrow. I think there are teams out there that could go after him. I watched a lot of his games this year. I saw his game on Saturday against Philly. The goal Provorov scored in overtime, there's nothing he could have done. He gave his team a chance to win. They just can't score. The game against the Devils, where they lost 3-1, he did everything again. And possibly there was a game against Minnesota, too, that he played well enough to win, but Montreal couldn't figure out how to play.
It just seems like anytime he is on a team that doesn't have any sort of defense, he gets burnt rather easily than anything else. I mean, it's been a reoccurring theme that, the defense on the coaching staff just can't hold accountable. And it goes to show that the strategy has not adapted since the 2017-2018 season. So
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Because in this age of fast attacking supportive hockey, you need to change your strategy. When you don't do that, you're going to get burnt constantly. Like We talk about the game versus the Rangers. The Buffalo game is another one. Nashville could do it. I mean,
Vegas tomorrow, they could annihilate the Devils on home ice.
except last year, even when the team was hot garbage, at least they could play Vegas 1-1 almost.
At least, look, you knew this. When the Devils were bad last year, you knew the teams they would play well against. And they would play well against them. This year, you have no idea.
But teams with William Karlsson type center, left wingers, whatever you want to think of them, they have a lot of speed, skill, and they're very good at deceiving you. And that's one of the problems that, when you don't build chemistry on all four lines, you can't build the chemistry and deceive other teams. And that's what kills things at the end of the day, is you kill other teams' momentum and you frustrate the team easily. But now it's been frustrating ourselves.
Yeah, everybody's just frustrated. I think everybody just wants to change, and everybody needs to be, and everything. I think just there's something that's not clicking, and I think just people are ready for a change, and they're looking for something new. And whatever that is, it is.
I just sense when there's the season ticket renewals and all that stuff, you talk to any Devils fan, you talk to any ticket holder about things like that. You tell them, give them the calm ultimatum. Tell them you're not going to re-sign your tickets for the next season because you don't believe in the coaching staff. You want Ray to pull the plug eventually on certain personnel, and also you want to see the best return on investment for Taylor Hall that would help benefit the Devils near and long term. And you want to do the patriotic thing in that sense of it, being smart with those assets. So if we can get a coach that understands what the fans want and the ownership wants, it's a smart business move.
Absolutely. So, look, we got hockey in what? A couple hours, Devils, Buffalo.
At
should be a
9
good one.
p.m. if I'm correct.
At 9 p.m.? 9 p.m.
No, I mean 7.
9 p.m. game tonight. That's good. Yeah, I don't think they're out west.
I would have
tonight.
been able to catch the train. No, it's 7-ish.
It's 7. Rangers tonight, 7. Islanders, all three locals in action. And then on the network tonight, Blues, Blackhawks. That should be a fun one.
Just to clear things up for people, the reason why I said 9 is because I feel like because it's so dark out right now,
it's late
because it's it's 1 hour less of daylight. I feel like it's 9 p.m. right now. So
it does feel like 9 p.m. right now. I'm not gonna lie, it does feel like it. It does look like it too.
And it feels like, it feels like we're like out in the woods of Minnesota or something, like right next to Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy with Bigfoot. You gotta get hauled to Bigfoot because you don't want to get beat up. He's gonna want those assets anyway.
Yeah, Bigfoot always wants some assets.
Yeah, hey Bigfoot, if you want some beef jerky, it better be Alberto's beef jerky. But
love me that. Yeah.
But if Bigfoot wants something to clean up, you got to get your help with Manscaped.
Yeah, Manscaped, baby. It's Cyber Monday, so you know what that means.
Got to use that promo code Big Heads, BIGHEADS, capital letters. You get 20% off on manscaped.com. Supporting the Jersey Joe Corner podcast with Jim and I.
Absolutely. Remember, Cyber Monday, use the big heads as a promo code. Excuse me. Getting choked up a little bit. Cyber Monday or anytime, 20% off. Use the code big heads, all caps, at Manscaped. Support the show. Show some love. We bring you the best content from around the NHL.
And don't be afraid to voice message us or reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're all on social media, so if you're at home or abroad and you download a few episodes at a time, don't be afraid to give us a like on YouTube. Give us a nice rating on Apple Podcasts. A lot of listeners on Apple Podcasts that I've noticed, even on Anchor.fm and Spotify.
Spotify. So, idea for you. Don't know if you're around.
I'm around right now.
Well, later in the week.
Oh, okay. On the 4th.
After the 2 games, so tonight and tomorrow, we do a recap, and we preview the weekend.
That's going to be the next one going forward. That way we keep track of our notes. Jersey Joe's already done 12 out of the 31 first-round mock draft picks.
You guys are a little ambitious, but I like the work because my friend, if you're up for it, I know I already got it, but if you're up for it, you want to make the trip, Montreal this year. This is the draft.
This is the
you come up with me.
I'm actually thinking about it. Just
you and me. I got some other people calling too, but you and me. But when we go to this shit, when we go there, we do a little pre-show, a little post-show that happens at the draft. See what we can talk to. I know when I was there in 2013, I mingled with a lot of draft picks. Guys taking a second round, some first rounders. It was fun. So I know you're dealing with that. But that's time from now.
The time for now is where we talk about our expansion through the U.S. listeners. I actually noticed Nevada, people from Nevada have been listening in Texas.
See, they know Nevada. We got Vegas coming up. So
I think it's great that whether you're a Devils fan or not, or someone might become a Devils fan regardless, it speaks volumes about how the power of entertainment gets everyone together, regardless of how negative or positive. You can't just have the yin, but you need the yang. You need the both.
Definitely, absolutely, and so with that, I'd like to bid a fair adieu to our listeners. Enjoy the game tonight.
And
hopefully the Devils win.
Hopefully they win. And I would like to say happy holidays to everyone. You have Kwanzaa, you have Hanukkah, you have Christmas coming, and then you have New Year's Eve. So Jim and I might be a little busy in between those holidays, but we're going to try and squeeze in a few here and there during a
and
crazy...
Don't forget, everybody, December 26th, a little bit away. We'll remind you again. December 26th starts one of the best tournaments in the world.
The World Junior under 18. It's usually...
No, World Junior under 21.
Under 21.
It's under 21. It's a U20. It's a double IHF World Junior tournament. It's going to be in Czech Republic this year. It's going to be fun. It always is. It begins Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas.
I like the idea of Boxing Day. It gives everyone else a chance to celebrate. But
exactly,
you also got to throw in the fact that when USA and Canada play off against each other, there's nothing like a true rivalry. It's like, Canadians and Leafs. It's like Devils versus Rangers, except it's two nations going at each other.
And it's always a fun game. So we'll remind you the schedule as it comes up. So nothing else. I think it's time to hit the road.
It is time to say goodbye, farewell. Let's go Devils.
So long. Let's go Devils.
Peace out, everybody.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.